Okay, Rhea, we are live.
Hello, Laura.
Hi, at least that's what they say. How are you today?
I am fine. Let me see. Yes, I see the little live light blinking there. So I believe we are live
Okay.
too.
All right then.
And I am going to check to be sure in just a second here.
Yep, I see Safa is
Hello,
on.
Safa.
Okay. Okay, there she is. Oh, Safa, we have to do an in-person thing.
Are you going to IMC
Are you asking me or
in
Safa?
March? I'm asking both of you.
Oh. um, I am, are the dates out?
Yes. Are you going to IMC?
Do you
Oh,
know?
well, hang on just a second.
Okay.
No, I'm talking to my own
Oh,
reflection there.
yourself?
Like, okay, wait a minute now. I need to turn the sound down. And I got to fix my light here.
All
I like
right.
the
Well, I'm
little,
going to tell everybody what our topic is tonight because it's an interesting topic. And it is, do you recognize your escape maneuvers? Like things that would be helpful to go to the level that you want to, but
Mhm.
you're not doing it. Do you recognize when that happens? Okay. Because that could be a tricky thing. And we want to believe our excuses so well.
Yes, we do. And we come up with really good ones.
Yeah, really good ones. And the only thing that's better than a good excuse is an even better excuse. Really. And it's important to recognize when that starts to happen because for a long time, even now, sometimes I have to really work hard at picking those times up.
Mhm. Yeah, I am the same way. It is a level of, I mean, we're here to talk about self-awareness.
Hmm.
And again, this is another level of awareness. Do you recognize when you are even trying to play little tricks with yourself?
Yeah.
And and I have that. You know, there are those moments where I there'll be something that I need to do, and I'll say, well, and you know how you talk yourself out of something with something
Yes.
that sounds really logical. Well, no, you can't do it for this reason. You can't do it for that reason,
Hmm.
and we have to call ourselves on that. We have to stop and take a moment. I mean, those are good things to. Safa will be so proud that I've even come through with this early as I am. Those are good things to journal about, even uh,
Yes.
because you because it's not just a passing discuss. It's not an instant kind of thing. I mean, where it comes up, you have to take a moment and pause and ask yourself, so what is this about? You know,
Right.
why do I keep saying no to an opportunity? And it's not
Hmm.
just a matter of saying, well, I'm afraid.
Hmm.
Okay, all right, well then let's pull that string. So this is one of those string pulling kind of things, those string pulling exercises, because as you start to make yourself more aware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking,
Hmm.
then you'll find another string that you need to pull to understand, well, what's behind that, and what's behind that, and
Right.
why is that happening,
Right.
and you know, and get down to a root cause even.
And get into the habit of questioning it because it could
Mm-hmm.
even be with a relationship. Like, say
Mm-hmm.
there's a relationship that you say you want it to be better, or you want to have a better relationship with somebody, but then something happens and you have a thought that gives you a reason to walk away from it or not work on it anymore. But even when it's something you really, really want, like honestly, last month I had that keynote. Now, I I really wanted to do a keynote on this topic,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted to do a big one. And this was close to 300 people. And
Mm-hmm.
my immediate reaction was that I was going to be traveling that month and I don't know if I can make it. I said that.
Right.
And
Right.
I wanted it. I mean, like, that's one thing I really wanted. And when it was faced with me where I had this opportunity, my first reaction was, I'm going to be traveling during that month. So I don't know, like, what was that all about? I had to think about that and reel myself back in
Mm-hmm.
and call her back and say, no, of course I'm going to move my schedule around to do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it's something you want, but there's a part of you that maybe there's a fear about it, or maybe there's the what if, or you're coming out of your comfort zone for it. And we can make very creative excuses. And Safa's saying distracting ourselves in order not to do what's needed to be done. She knows when she does that.
Yes. That's a good one too.
Yes.
That is, and that's, and now in this day and age, especially with social media and, what, 500 channels on TV now that we have access to, and just so many things out there, it's very easy to become distracted. And it doesn't even have to be social media or TV. You can all of a sudden decide, I've had moments where there were things that I needed to take care of that were related to my own, my own work, my work that I'm doing. And all of a sudden I decide, well, this will be a good time to bake. Yeah. Right
Well,
now,
and
instead of taking
baking
care of that. But
and
that's one of those things.
baking is like, that could be very calming. That could be something that, if there's the least bit of anxiety, baking
Mm-hmm.
is something that can be a go-to.
Well, it is therapeutic
Mm-hmm.
unless you are using it as a
Mm-hmm.
distraction
And it
to
could be
keep.
both. It
That's
could be
right.
both.
And I have used it to keep me, and not just baking, cooking. I mean, anything, or around the house. All of a sudden, you have this urge to mop the kitchen floor. Really, what is it that you don't want? What is it that you don't want to do? It's balancing what you don't want versus what you don't want even more. But
Mm-hmm.
I agree. There are many things that are out there that can distract us if we let them, because there are plenty of times. I mean, there are things that distract us that we have no control over, but there are things that we choose to allow to distract us. And like I said, I'll go back to social media, Facebook, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They can all be time drains where you're sitting and flipping and flipping and flipping and reading, and you think that you think that this is something that is helpful. Oh, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
read this article, and I'll just read that, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
read that. Meanwhile, there's time you had blocked to develop a curriculum, or there's time you had blocked to study something else that you're not doing.
Right.
So, and I shouldn't speak like you. I'm really talking to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about that before, where I had to really look at how I was spending my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on Facebook a lot because I was always feeling as if I wanted to respond to people having a tough time, or, if I saw a post and somebody was in struggle. And I would actually spend time on Facebook looking for anybody that might have needed a kind word,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
as nice as that is,
And it's very nice. That's
right?
wonderful.
But I was spending hours just going through. And I had to cut it out. I mean, I
Yeah.
had to cut it out. And so I still will go on Facebook, but mostly just to post, like if there's something that's educational, or there's a quote I really feel passionately about.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I'm not on much anymore.
Yeah.
I'm really not. And that was a decision I had to make. And it went against, like, there was a part of me that said, but that's who you are. You want to help people. And you know what? I'll still help people if anybody wants to message me, but I can't go looking for it for hours, because it just was not serving me in the way of my goals. and
That's
what
right.
I wanted,
That's right.
and so we do have to look at that. Allie's tuning in from Starbucks with her chai tea. I love that chai tea, but when I found out how much sugar is in it, it was a big realization.
Oh, it's significant. I see something about 20 grams of sugar.
20 grams of sugar. Could you believe it?
That's
It tastes so
significant.
good. Now I know why. So Safa says sometimes we even distract ourselves with growth. I did that for years, a course after a course, study after study.
Ooh,
Then
yeah.
I realized that I need to stop spending money just for the sake of learning. It's being specific that matters, and really action what
Yes.
we have learned. Yeah, it's
In in
not the amount of material.
in all caps, it's taking that action.
Yes.
It is, because the more we sit back and, okay, I've got to read one more thing, because there'll always be another book. There will always be another guru.
Yeah. Yeah.
There will always be another webinar, always be
Yeah.
another webinar.
Yeah.
And we just have to, if you take one and take action on that, maybe you go back for another webinar when you're more advanced, but we can't take every class because
No.
you won't have time to actually do what it is you're called to do. And again, I should have my mirror here so I can just hold it up.
Well, because the truth is that growth is contagious, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so the more you grow, the more you up level your thinking, the more you see things differently, and the more you want more of it. But that's a great point Safa makes, and Rhea, you and I've talked about this before,
Hmm.
that if we're going to take a class or we're going to do a learning, we do something with it first before we move on to the next thing,
That's
because
right.
otherwise it becomes about this information that you have, and information doesn't really do anything. There are lots of people that have a lot of information, but if you're not doing something with what you have,
That's right.
then you're just collecting more information, right? And
Yeah.
what does it all
Yes.
mean?
And we've heard that saying, knowledge is power. It's not just knowledge that's power. It's activated knowledge
Yes.
that is
Yes.
power.
Yes. It's
So you can't activate without acting,
right.
and we have to plan, what we're going to do with all of that knowledge. But yeah, Laura and I have talked about that because they all, all of this sound is so seductive. It's so exciting. Most of us are, at least I'm guessing, most of us on this call right now are over the age of 40. So we've seen a different time where we didn't communicate as quickly as we do now, or we didn't have at our fingertips the vast amount of knowledge and research that you could do. And it's I get a charge from being able to go out and find out something, learn something, so quickly. But
Yeah.
again, you end up piling all of that in to the point where you feel like you can't move. So
Yeah.
so you have to be very, I love the word, intentional.
Intentional. Yes.
Yeah,
Because your life is your responsibility.
that's
I mean,
right.
that's what it comes down to. And even if you're coaching someone, and Rhea and I both have coaching clients, and you can give so much information and then you have to stop because now it's about application.
Hmm.
And so before you go on to more, like before you go any further in your teaching with that person, it's time to apply what you've already gotten to,
Hmm.
right? So knowledge is great and it's powerful when you apply it, but knowledge alone is not going to do it. um, Ali says, for years I stayed with the wrong crowd because it was in my comfort zone, but it was toxic. I was missing all the blessings God had for me just to stay comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Stepping out of my comfort zone has brought me into a whole new world of abundance and the greatest people ever known. You're incredibly passionate and compassionate soul, Laura. Your words touch me. Thank you, Ali. Balance is important, but your words are also powerful. Yes, and we've talked about like your self-talk words too.
Yes,
They're
very
very.
important.
Here's the truth. you believe the story you tell yourself. And you
Mm-hmm.
tell yourself, I don't know, probably close to 1 million stories a day. There's a story about everything, you know. We tell ourselves stories. We give meaning to things that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not likely to give something that happened the same meaning that you might give it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so, you know, we believe those stories
We do.
as
And the
application.
thing about it, and you've said it and I've said it. Hey, Crystal. And the thing
Crystal.
that we've both said is you take those stories about yourself and you craft your self image. And
Yep.
guess what? You will never outperform that image that you craft. Now you can recraft, and that's great. But we tell ourselves lots of stories about our ourself. And then which is why it's important to know yourself, to be aware of yourself, because there are things that are said sometimes to you by you that you need to push back on. You know, if I am holding an image of myself as X and some errant thought comes in and says Y, I want to be able to say, no, that's not right. That's not right. And back off. But it's really important. I am, I don't know exactly how we decided to start talking about self-awareness, how that became what we focused on. It just sort of developed, but I'm glad we did. And I'm proud of the fact that this is what we discussed, because it's so much the basis of what everyone needs to understand to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. And we're going to keep talking about it.
Well, and that's what we stand for, right? We ask people to tune into us
Mm-hmm.
so they can tune into themselves.
That's
And so
right.
that's all about self-awareness. And, you know, tonight we're talking about what are your escape maneuvers? What are the excuses? What are the things you tell yourself that pull you away from what it is you really want? So
Mm-hmm.
without
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness, you won't know what that is, right? And I'm just going to be honest. For years, I walked around without self-awareness. For years, I told myself stories and I believed every single one of them. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
if only my son could change. If only this person would do something differently. If only that job came to my way. If only this happened that way. If only Chris would do this. Like, I mean, I, I think back at that time when I expected everyone and everything else to change, when
Right.
I'm the one responsible. I create I co-create my circumstances in my life.
Yes,
And that's
that's
why
right.
when I tell people, you are so much more than your circumstances. Your
Mm-hmm.
circumstances are diddly squat. They're
Mm-hmm.
nothing compared to the power inside of you. If you don't like your results, you can change them.
That's right. And we are so much more powerful than we know.
Oh,
So much more. And I am now, in just taking a step back, I think most of you know both Laura and I are women of faith. So we're not saying that, we're more powerful than God. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about God has given us wonderful lives and wonderful opportunities. But he's also taught us that even in all of our faith, if we don't act, faith without works is dead.
dead. Did you hear that, people?
So,
It's dead.
so we have to take steps. We have to act. I could go on with parables and stories that even Jesus told, where and reminded people, pick up your bed and walk. Not just, this is not a magic carpet ride and you're just going to get up and fly around. Pick up your bed and walk. So it's take action. And I remind myself of that constantly. I lead a very human life. I make mistakes. I do, and the thing though that I am happier about is that I have a greater level of self-awareness than I did years ago. Just like Laura said, I mean, I went through life in a completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
And without realizing the effect that my thoughts and words had, not only on others, but on me.
Yeah.
And being able to learn more about that. And now it seems so simple when I look back.
Yeah.
And think that's like Dorothy at the end of the Wizard of Oz. All you had to do, this is all I had to do.
All you have to do.
Else,
Yep.
and it was in you all the time. So
Right.
yes, this is a wonderful time, but part of that awareness is recognizing when we play those games with ourselves. And you
Yes.
you have goals, you have plans, you have desires, strong desires. So in the face of that strong desire, you're going to get a competing self-interest. And you have to be able to recognize that and call it out and dismiss it.
Right. And there is no reward for playing small. There's
Oh
no
yeah.
reward. And I used to think, well, I always want to be this humble person. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I don't want too much of anything. I mean, I used to think like that. And I wasn't pleasing God by thinking like that. I wasn't.
Mm-mm.
That's not what he created. Look around. Look around, especially now as the leaves are changing and they're falling and we're shifting seasons. This world was created in absolute perfection and abundance. I mean, it's just incredible. And it was created for us, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we were not put here to think small, be small, only take a little bit. That's not why we're here. So sometimes those excuses, the things that hold you back,
Mm-hmm.
you believe them. Like I believed all of that. I didn't want anything that was great, because, it was okay. I would leave all that for everybody else.
And here is something. I mean, I'm glad you made the statement about humility, because uh, Paul. This is something that Paul Martinelli said too. The definition of humility, according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, is, quote, freedom from pride or arrogance. It's not about diminishing or downplaying yourself.
Mm.
It's about freedom from pride or
Mm.
arrogance. So it helps to understand it, because we're told, oh, you should be humble. You should be, especially if you're in the church. Oh, you want to be humble,
Yes.
and okay, that's great. But it's freedom from pride or arrogance. It does not mean I have to downplay myself or be invisible.
Right. But that was the story I told myself.
That's right.
I grew up kind of that way, it
Mm-hmm.
was like other people had a lot, but we didn't. And that's okay. We were good because we didn't have a lot. Like that meant that, you weren't taking more than your fair share. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a story I told myself. And that's what I mean. We believe the stories we tell ourselves, whatever those stories might be. We
That's it.
believe them and we act accordingly, right? We act according to our beliefs all the time. We don't even know.
Now, see, we've got some more comments coming in.
Okay. Let's see. Crystal says, that's where I am, making changes in my life to better me, not pleasing others. Never too old to learn the change.
Ooh, say that again.
Yeah. Never
Never
too
too
old
old
to
to
learn
learn the
the
change.
change.
That is it. It's not too late. The only time it's too late is when you're dead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as you're here, it is possible. And we're not talking about you have to make these great sweeping changes every day. But if you have a plan and the only thing you do is make a small change every day, that those changes compound and make a difference.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
absolutely
Yep.
never too old to learn the change, Crystal. I agree with you.
Yep.
Hi, Donna.
Oh, Donna's. So Allie says, I believe toxic labels about my character just because
Yes.
people I thought loved me said them.
Mm.
Up-leveling my desire to grow has obliterated those labels. Yes, we
Oh,
believe
yeah.
things sometimes that other people say. And like Rhea pointed out, that could easily weigh into our self-image. And then
Mm-hmm.
we will never reach our highest and greatest potential. Why? Because somebody said something
Yeah. Oh,
about us.
yeah.
Oh, Donna's here. Thanks, Donna. Yeah, we love this conversation too. This kind of stuff always lights us up because, we have seen the change and we have believed those stories that we told ourselves too. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not immune to this.
No, no, but I, thinking back, things that I can remember, uh, you know, I did not get married in my 20s, but I can remember being in my 20s and people telling me, "Oh, you're never going to get married. No man's going to marry you. You talk too much. You're too independent. You're this, you're that," and thinking, okay, so somehow I have to downplay those things now
Mm,
because I'm not going to meet anyone no one's going to want me because I'm too independent or I talk too much or, blah, 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 blah. Now, I mean, there is talking too much and there's talking too much, but anyway, that's a completely different show. But those things stuck with me. Now, fast forward years later, I'm married to a guy who talks more than I do. So, so, and he's thrilled that I'm independent. So,
right,
you have to get beyond that and become aware of what's most important to you,
right.
and not be held back or held
Right.
down.
And people don't always mean to hold you back. They don't.
No,
Like my
no.
grandmother, oh, I love my grandmother. My grandmother was like a mother to me. She was always there. I would come in from a date and my mother would be sleeping and my grandmother would be waiting there saying, "So what do you think, Lori? Is this guy the one?" And she, there was a guy that she really liked and he wanted me to stop working in the city. He didn't like that I worked in the city. He
Mhm.
wanted me to get a job on Long Island. And I said to my grandma, I'm not going to be dating him anymore because he wants me to quit the job in the city. And she said, well, that's okay. And I said, no, it's not okay. Do you know what it took me to get this job? And so she didn't say that because she didn't believe in me
Right,
or that she
right,
wanted less for me.
right.
She said that because she thought in her mind, the way to be happy is to get married.
Yeah.
And that means everything, right?
And she loved you and she wanted you to be happy.
And that's what she thought happiness would be,
Yeah.
right? But
Hmm.
again, I would have to change myself.
Hmm.
And there was no way I was doing that,
Hmm.
So sometimes people, they love you and they say things because they might not want you to get hurt or
Right.
to get disappointed. Um, they love you. They just, have a different way of believing what would make you happy would make them happy.
Right. Right. And
So
they're applying their standard
right.
to
And
your life. Yeah.
it's very hard for people to understand what might make somebody else happy.
Right. Right.
So I think we do that sometimes. So Donna says self-awareness is about getting to know yourself, grow yourself, and love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. See, and now Donna, Donna has worked really hard on self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
and she has grown like mad. I mean, you can see when people work hard on themselves and they stop the friction,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because sometimes people want to grow, but then those old limiting beliefs come in and then they stop growth, because of those, they're not aware enough to know. And
Yes.
that's what today is about. These little sneaky little limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. And they pop up and they will always try to pop up. They will. You won't eliminate them completely,
Right.
but you'll become better at recognizing them. Has anyone ever played the game whack-a-mole, where you're standing there and in the very beginning, the little mole gets the best of you, and you're sort of behind. But as you get better and your timing gets better, you start anticipating which hole he's going to come out of, and you whack him before he can really get out of there.
Yeah.
So it's similar to that. It's the more you do, it's a muscle. The more you do it, the more you work on it, the better you become at it.
Yeah.
And it's vital, and we are so excited that we get to talk about this and share, and that we're more aware in our own lives.
Yeah. And the more self-awareness you have, the more you can figure out, how these limiting beliefs disguise themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like our topic is, your escape maneuvers, like the things that you don't realize are taking you away from what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we say we want things, but things stop us sometimes. And again, it's a lot of it is the story we tell ourselves. Like, when I was having issues going to the gym, it was all stories I would tell them. Well, you can't go today, Laura, because, you have to do this or you have to do that. No, I had to say, no, there's no more of doing this and doing that, because it's what I want to happen is not happening.
Right.
And
right.
it's because I am not doing the action I need to do to get it.
And it's up to you.
Right.
It's up to you.
It's very simple, right? It's about restructuring priorities sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's about that burning desire and establishing your priorities around it. So, yes.
Right. How bad do you want it,
Well, we are near the hour. And it's these times go so
fast,
quickly. So I mean, people I say this all the time, and they may think I'm just making it up. But when we pick a topic, there are plenty of times where we pick a topic, and I'm like, are we going to be able to talk a half hour about that? And then we find that we could go on for much longer, much longer, because not just because of the two of us, but because of the input that we're getting from the group here. And we thank each of you. Each of you for your help and your participation and your support.
And I thank everyone too for being here and investing in yourself, like investing this half an hour of time in being aware and listening to a topic that brings awareness to you. And maybe sometimes you have to question your beliefs. That's not easy to do. Most people don't want to do that.
Yes.
So by tuning into this, what you're saying to yourself is that you are worth it. You are worth a half hour. You are worth challenging those beliefs, those thoughts that you might have. And you're worth being aware so that you can be intentional, right? You have to be aware to beware.
So go back to the question that we have for you. Ask yourself the question, what things are pulling or distracting you? What things are pulling you from what it is that you desire? What are you using as your little escape maneuvers? And spend time with your journal, writing about that. Answering the question for yourself, because that will help you to more easily recognize what is happening and recognize patterns as they develop. So,
and what are the things that you do want? What are the things you're working on right now in your life? Is it better physical health? Is it better mental health? Is it more time with certain people? Is it more time on your own? Is it about a trip you want to take? What is it that you are working toward and that you want more of in your life? So that's awareness too, to know what it is that you want.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is right.
Always have something in mind.
Yes.
Well, okay. Well,
okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Rhea. Love you.
All right. You guys
I love this time with you too. I love to get this time with you.
I know. I love it. I look forward to it every Tuesday. And thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous, ridiculously amazing week. If you're in the New York area, we're going to get rained on tomorrow. But
really?
That's okay.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't even look at the weather. I have a drive somewhere for a training tomorrow.
Yep,
All
they're
right.
telling us that we're going to get pouring out rain for us. So
Wow.
okay, all right.
It's funny. I don't even look at the weather anymore because do you know how often they're right? Like I
Yeah.
don't I don't even bother. I wake up
Well,
and
well,
I
we'll see. I'll be prepared, but I am gifted with wash and wear hair right about this time in my
yeah.
life, so I'm not too worried, and I have plenty of umbrellas, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. We'll be good.
okay,
All right.
everyone, we love you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Have
Laura.
a great week. Love you, Rhea. Bye-bye.
Bye.